Hello, 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 everyone, everyone, everyone. It is another day, another time, and another week for the Godly View Show, brothers. We are here, we are here, we are here. I
What
am
up?
here. I am here this morning on the night with my brothers. We
Right.
are excited to be here. I'll let my brothers introduce themselves, and then we'll go on from there. So, whichever one of my brothers want to kick it off, we'll kick it off with that.
Hey, good
Well,
evening,
I am ready.
everyone. AB Bracewell Hill here. Glad to be with the brothers again, having another great discussion. Can't wait till we get this thing started.
My brothers, what's going on? And I am Gregory Devon out of Durham, North Carolina. Looking forward to jumping into this conversation as always. Good to see y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And as always, my name is Reverend James H. Glover III, and we are excited about being here on tonight and having this conversation. But first thing first, y'all already know we got to get into some of these topics that's been circulating around on social media before we jump into our main topic on tonight. And first topic that we got to jump into is something that everybody been seeing on social media. If you have Facebook, YouTube, even if you don't have any of those, if you have a television, you have heard about this situation with this young lady who was supposedly kidnapped. And then was she kidnapped? Was she not kidnapped? We don't know. But I know one thing, social media been letting her have it these last couple of weeks, last couple of days. So we gotta hit on that. I'm gonna let one of my brothers kick it off on that topic.
What's a crazy situation? From the very beginning, something which is very off for me. As I prayed that she was okay when I heard about it. I even shared the advertising photo, but I was like, something is a little off for me. And then when her parents did an interview prior to her being found on the news station, and when I watched that, I was like, something is odd here because her parents, for me, just weren't acting right. And some of the statements that her mother made for me were a little bit off. Like she made a statement and said, "Well, we know that she's not perfect," and I was like, "That's a very odd statement to make if she's missing." So my thing was, I think there's something going on in this home, and she's run away from what for whatever reason. I still pray that she was okay. When she was found, I was glad she was okay when she came back. But the fact that she walked back to her house was off for me again. And the fact that when they said that the cameras caught her walking back, I was like, okay, so something is missing from this story. And I think that many of us did not want to say anything negative because we thought, well, she's okay. And a lot of times these stories don't get picked up. But my thing is, you can be curious and still be grateful at the same time, but you can still have questions because at the end of the day, when people get missing and come back, and it's that short of a time, and they're not hurt, they're not injured, and they walk back, something is always missing from the story. I'm glad she's okay. My thing is now, let's figure out, is her mental health okay? Um, in this house, what's going on? You know, um, is she depressed? Like, what's really going on in her brain where she thought it was okay to fake an abduction? Because she was looking up the movie Taken. She was looking up Amber Alerts. All this stuff. So it's like, wow, what's really going on? When you would raise suspicion like this all of a sudden and don't see anything wrong with that. You know, my thing is, it's not a I don't condemn her by no means, but at the end of the day, it's a crime when you fake an abduction, put the world on alert like that, and then just show that it's a crime. Now we can sit and argue about, well, these stories don't get picked up. Maybe she was trying to raise awareness. Even if she was, You don't do this. You don't waste resources like this. Yeah, the FBI was involved, the SBI is involved. This is getting national attention. So what happens now in the future when a real situation happens? She has set us back. We don't want to say that, but she didn't set us back some. And I yield the mic.
Yeah. The funny thing about this story is that when I first heard it mentioned, I didn't give it too much energy or too much attention. And maybe that's the reason. Because when I first heard about it, that a part of it did seem odd. It did sound like something out of a movie. Tyler walking out, I guess, on the freeway in the middle of the night. It seemed odd, but I was like, oh, okay. Usually, if it's something that really grabs my interest or something that really sounds real and dangerous, I'll look into it immediately. I'll start doing some research. But this one, I took it with a grain of salt, and said, okay, I'll check it out later if I hear more about it. And by the time I decided to even uh, look more into it, I think she was back home. I think she was back home with other stories that came out. So I'm not even sure how many days this was over a span of days. I'm not sure how long it was, but I think my thought immediately went to the things that we tend to do for attention these days. Now, if she has some type of mental health issues or there's something else going on, my heart definitely goes out to that and goes out to her. But my mind immediately went to, was this just a ploy to get some type of notoriety, 15 minutes of fame, some social media attention or media attention? And it's a shame, but I know that's what our society has kind of come to. We do everything so it's up on the gram. We do everything so that someone can so someone can start to talk about us. Everything is just to is a lot of attention seeking behaviors, and a lot of the attention seeking behaviors are negative. We look for those things in negative ways. If it's showing being half naked on the internet to get that attention is done. If it's through violence, beating people up and taping it is done. Now I'm seeing if it's through faking a kidnapping and making up a whole story, it's done. So that's what my thought went to, and that's what my heart went to when I heard this story. I was like, is this done just so people can talk about you? Because for real, it's really going to be for 15 minutes. Because tomorrow somebody else is going to do something crazy, and then we'll be talking about them. And then you're going to go down in infamy for being the person that created this whole story, and all for what? All for what? Just to get somebody talking to you. Now, it has to be some type for you to go that length. I would say you have to be dealing with some type of mental instability. Something got to be going on. I don't know what it is, but I think any normal functioning person that even wants attention, would they go this far? But then again, is this so normalized in our society that we would go this far just to get attention? We just keep pushing the envelope and do more and more and more. So has it become normal? Can a regular functioning person do something crazy like this just to get some eyes on them and really have no mental health diagnosis or issues at all? It's just the way of the world right now. So, I mean, as for the story itself, before I could even get a chance to research what was going on, the story had ended. I know people are still talking about it right now. I guess things are still getting uncovered, but I guess the last verdict is that she made this whole story up. There was a lot of inconsistencies with the phone calls, and there was no babies and a video tape and all this stuff. And it's just sad at the end of the day. And I agree with you, Gregory. There's going to be times where someone will really get kidnapped, and we're going to question it. It's not going to get the attention that it really needs. They're going to be slow on sending out the authorities to find this person, and that could probably lead to death. But it's all because because of what's done now. People, it's like the boy that cried. So it's a crazy situation.
Yeah.
I definitely agree, brother. It's definitely a sad situation. I mean, when I looked at it on social media, first thing I noticed was that the young lady, first thing she said was she saw a little boy and she got out of her car to help that little boy. Then she got abducted at that point. But then when the police went out there and started questioning people, they could never find the little boy. I think at that moment was when I was like, okay, so what's the real story here? Because if there's no little boy, what else are you lying about? But I agree with you all. It's not to condemn her, but she's got to be held accountable.
Right.
Because as we've already stated, it's going to come a point to where now something seriously could be going on, and the police are going to look at it and be like, well, this person lied about it. What makes us think it's he ain't? So.
Yeah. And the disturbing thing for me too is some of our responses to this, like even on social media and even in our circles. It just goes to show sometimes that we as individuals are afraid to think for ourselves. And we are so accustomed to the media driving our thought process that whatever the media says, whatever the story is, we believe it without doing any, real thinking about it. Like nothing about this story ever made sense from the very beginning. Never made sense, ever. From saying, I saw a little boy on the side of the road. Well, you can't hear the little boy. The person that she said she was talking to on the phone, her brother's girlfriend, said she never heard a little boy, ever. So from the very beginning, the story did not make any sense.
And that part, real quick, that part really got to me because I heard the recording of when I guess she was talking to the operator, and she's sitting on the phone saying, I'm watching a little boy walk in the street. I'm like, why are you calling 911? Go get the little boy. What are you doing? You gonna let him get hit by a car?
Exactly.
So that part really threw me off.
Exactly.
I think what threw me off was how calm she sounded as she was on the phone with the operator.
Exactly.
Now, you watching a little boy walking across the street. Why are you so calm in that moment? Why ain't you jumping out of your car and trying to save that little boy? Instead of, like you said, AB, instead of being on the phone with the operator, why ain't you doing something about it? Or even if you are on the phone with the operator, why ain't you sounding more distraught about this situation instead of being calm?
Right. And then this lady is in nursing school. With all due respect, we don't need anybody in the medical profession that has to deal with people with medications and procedures that is a pathological liar and does not have integrity. And that's no disrespect. That's just real. Because I'm like, if you can conjure up this, you might be in that switching people's charts. Because again, we need honest people in that profession, especially. And if you have conjured up a story and thought that it was okay. Now, in all seriousness, if she has some mental health challenges, let's get her some help, right? But still, you still have to be accountable to what you have done. And like I was saying earlier, us in society, we got to start thinking and realizing that it is okay to have a question about something and still be praying that everything is okay. I was reading people's social media statuses like, really? That what you think? like, oh, how dare you all question this? And that don't make sense. You didn't change the tune now. My thing is, you better start thinking from the very beginning. Because this impacts how we think in our own personal lives, period. Some of us let anything fly. And whatever is said, whatever is done, we don't question it because we don't know how to think critically and put the pieces together and ask ourselves, does this really mean what it looks like? Or is this what they said? Is it really that? Like, we got to start thinking for ourselves and not letting folk just push a narrative on us, no matter what a story is. At the end of the day, not being able to think critically and think properly will drive you down a lane that you just don't want to go sometimes.
Yeah. I think we've gotten to a point in society where everybody is allowed to live by their truth. Like nobody is going by the truth, the one and only truth. Like it's my truth.
Yes,
so
sir.
if someone says something, hey, you can't criticize it, you can't question it because that's their truth.
Right.
Nah, there's different from your truth and the actual truth.
Yes, sir.
So like everything we're just so you're just free to do anything you want. You're free to say whatever you want. You're free to, I mean, yes, you're free to think how you want to think, but even if it goes against the real truth, like you cannot say anything about it, or you'll get backlashed. We had a similar conversation last show. Not to bring it back up, but with the with the Keke Palmer stuff. Like listen, she's living in her truth, and no one can criticize what that person's truth is, no matter how much it might be. Not to say that stuff was immoral, but no matter how much something might be immoral or against God, against the word, against anything. If that's their truth, we got to accept it. And I think that's part of what you saw with the backlash when people was questioning this story. Like, no, you can't question this story. That's her truth. It turned out to be the biggest lie ever told. But, that's where we at right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That brings us to our next topic, because another thing that's been circulating on social media, where I think this was an old situation, but it's being brought back up and has regained traction again, where a certain young lady was out celebrating her birthday, and her friends had all agreed to split the bill. But there was a couple of friends that didn't agree with splitting that bill. They believed that everybody ought to pay for what's theirs and then call it a day. And that video has circulated and regained traction. I mean, you've seen a lot of comments where people was talking about, if you broke, just say that. If you didn't have the money, why did you go out anyway? So, how do y'all feel about that, brothers?
I don't know, where did that rule come from? This standard of you either split the bill or you pay what you bought. I just don't know where like where it comes. I'll tell you a real life story from when I was a little younger. It was a dinner we had. A friend of mine had a dinner, and everyone bought their dates. And I came from the cloth. What you order is what you pay for. That's where I came from. I didn't come from, hey, we gonna split this bill so many ways. Because usually I'll hang out with my boys. I hang out with my friends. What you bought? Here's the money for what I bought. Here's the money for what I bought, and that's how we handled it. But I'm guessing at that time I found out there was another way to do it. So when the bill came, it was probably like 5 couples or whatever, and I'm looking for our order. Like, hey, this is what we ordered. Here's the money for it. And then later on, I think my friend was saying that they was calling you cheap. I'm like, how am I cheap? Like I paid for what I ordered. And that's when I learned that I guess it's etiquette or proper that you just split the bill, whatever, 4 ways, 5 ways, about how many people there. But I kind of still stand by, like, if I just ordered order of fries and you ordered a steak, why should I pay for your steak? But I don't know. Maybe I'm just not evolved yet, so I don't know what it really is.
We must be from the same place, AB. Because on that video, that bill was over $4,000. So you're talking about splitting it 10 ways. I'm not paying $400 some, and all I got was some chicken wings. In situations like that, I have found, even in real life, that at these kind of things, your cheeseburger friends always want to show up and order filet mignon and talk about, let's split this. No, no ma'am, no ham. You pay what you got, I'm gonna pay what I have, and we're gonna call it a day. I've had situations where, what I care about being called cheap, I could care less, because I know who I am. And my thing is, you won't take advantage of me because you want to eat on my dime. It's not about the money, it's the principle, right? And my thing is, number one, don't let me get here and then tell me this, because I'm that person that'll say, "Oh, I'm gonna sit behind y'all then," because we're not doing. I've just seen too many times where, again, your cheeseburger friends want to show up and order filet mignon, and they can't afford that, and they want somebody else to grab their tab. No, ma'am, no ham. We're not doing that. My thing is, you come and you order what you can pay for. My thing is, why is the expectation for us to split this bill? No, just bring me my bill. Now there are situations where the restaurant, right, may require, well, if it's 20 of y'all, we're gonna do one bill. I've seen that before, right? Now, that's something different, because there's no avoiding one bill. However, I am very aware of what I ordered, right? And I'm going to give you enough money to cover what I ordered. And I might even put $5 or $6 more to that. However, if my bill is $50, right, I'm not paying $400 in this case in the video. I'm not doing that. And there is nothing you can say or do that will make me even think about paying $400 some for what I did not order. And I think that we've gotten into this baller mentality. You want to ball and shot call. My thing is, darn that. My thing is, ballers ain't dropping no 400 on a steak for what? People with money save their money. That's why they got money. And my thing is, everyone wants to look social media rich, social media famous. I want everybody to see me this type of way. I'm gonna come here wearing these kind of clothes and dropping this kind of money on the meal. Okay, God bless you. More power to you. GD, I'm not doing that, and I could care less what a man or a woman says. Because if a woman would not date me because of that, okay, then go find you a rich dummy, or a wannabe rich dummy. Because my thing is, again, in this society today, we got to be responsible with our money, because we on the verge of another recession. That's not conversation for whatever reason, but you better watch the news. You better watch what they're saying about this cryptocurrency. Watch the stock market and realize, okay, we might supposedly, allegedly, be the richest country in the nation, but we're still on the verge of a recession. That's just the truth. So my thing is, you better be more responsible with your money, and don't let nobody fool you into thinking, well, let me go ahead and go with this and drop this 400, but my bill is just 50. and now you need that extra 300 next week. How your light bill do?
Yeah, you gotta pay bills.
Now you're in the dark, hungry.
You're gonna spend it on some food that you ain't even eat. Yeah,
but your friends think you rich, though. Your friends think you rich, though. You in the dark, but your friends think you got money. So I mean,
right.
Listen, man, I
In the
ain't
dark,
trying to impress nobody.
exactly. I think my thing on the whole thing was, number one, why wasn't this talked about before they got to the restaurant?
Hello.
Why wasn't it brought up that, hey, we're splitting this bill however many ways? Because obviously it wasn't brought up just by the way that the friends was acting when the bill got there and they noticed that they were splitting it. And Pastor Gregory, you said something real on point when you said that you have your hamburger friends that want to come in here and eat on your dime. There are people that will come out on these outings knowing that the bill is going to be split between all of y'all evenly and buy the most expensive thing on the menu, knowing darn well if they was paying for it, they couldn't even spell filet mignon. They can't even spell it, but they're going to order it. If you can't spell it, why are you ordering it?
Okay.
Yes,
You need to Philip McNaughton.
Exactly.
yeah. I want to know where they was eating at. How many were there? And you got to know your friends. You know who you hang out with. Like you know your friends don't have no $4,600 money to spend on food. So why y'all even pick that place? That had to be a really expensive place. Why y'all even pick that place to go eat? Y'all should have went to Fridays or something. Y'all wanted to take pictures, and the bill coming to $4,600. What were y'all eating? What were y'all eating? Or it probably was.
That's what I want to know.
What were y'all drinking? They probably was trying to order bottles and all types of stuff. Who knows?
There's no telling.
I'm glad to hear that we cut from the same cloth, Pastor Greg. So we ever go out there, I ain't got to worry about paying for you.
Okay.
You get yours, I get mine.
Look, and I'm like, look, if a friend, now look, if you ain't got it, tell me prior to us getting here. And I'm like, we'll put yours on mine.
Yeah.
But that's still that don't mean that you're gonna order the lobster tail, the filet mignon. No, you better get the chicken finger.
And that don't mean every time put yours on mine.
I get out there, I start ordering the caviar with you, Greg.
Come on now.
Caviar. All right.
All right, that was just another hot topic before we get into our main one, which is our brother Tupac Shakur. He has made news again. This time, they are talking about supposedly some brothers have came forward and admitted that they was the ones that killed him. And the crazy thing about it is, right after this news makes its rounds, a few days later, his mother passes away. So, my thing on that is, this brother's been dead for how many years now? Why y'all gonna wait until now to come forward and try to gain clout off of killing this brother? Doesn't make sense to me.
And at this point, it's like you don't know what to believe. There have been so many stories that have come out that even when one comes out that seems to be logical and may have some truth, so it seems, behind it, can you really believe it? Because who is going to confirm the story at this point in time? What clues can they follow? What forensics can they do Like this is no longer a case that just happened where we could actually do some forensics and things. My thing is, if this had happened today, it probably would have been a solved crime, in my opinion, because there are so many things they can do now that they couldn't do what 30 years ago. You know, you got forensics is a whole lot better. You know, it's not just now about looking for fingerprints; they're looking for fibers and you know, artifacts, what have you, to trace these things back. And my thing is, it's so hard now to try to solve a case that's that old that having to rely on someone's story, which I mean may or may not be true. It's just so hard to believe because I mean, look, you got the Carly story. People wanted to believe that. Now this story, people gonna want to believe that. But now we're skeptical now because again, as you were saying, James, people clout chase. So you don't know, okay, are you trying to get your name out there for a specific reason? You know, are you trying to have your 15 minutes of fame? Why are you just now coming out now if this is true? You know, and you think about how in the past people have tried to come out and attach their name to a story or attach their name, you know, to a made up situation because they have something going on and they're trying to get some notoriety to sell something or to promote something. I mean, it happens, you know, where people will the love of money. I'm trying to get money behind this. I'll attach my name to something that months later, I'm gonna put this product out. I'm gonna put this CD out. I'm gonna put this out. That now my name is out there. So my name on this now means something. Oh, isn't that the one that supposedly um, killed Tupac? Or isn't that the one that supposedly did this? So I mean, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying it is true. I honestly just don't know what to believe at this point. And honestly, for me, Tupac's life mattered, but at this point in time, unless the authorities come out and release something real where they have some real evidence, I don't know that I'm interested in even attempting to believe it. Only because it's been so long that my thing is, if this turns out not to be true, let's not continue to dishonor this man's life and this man's legacy. You know, let's let his family live in peace as the deceased rests in peace.
Yeah, man, I agree. It reminds me of uh, this Rock said one time about Tupac's death. He said Tupac got killed on the Vegas Strip in front of Circus after a big time boxing match, and they still ain't found the killer. 1996, we in 2023, and people still coming out saying, "I know who killed Tupac." They ain't found the killer because they didn't want to find the killer.
Right.
And at this point, I agree with you. Just let the man rest in peace. You know, I don't really have too much time to listen to the propaganda and the stories that's popping up about who did it and who didn't do it or whatever. I mean, I think at this point, you know, I hope that we find they find the killer, so his family can have some type of peace and comfort if that's still a barrier or pain for them. But I think for the general public, for me, you know, as a fan, you know, I just prefer, you know, enjoy the music when I get to listen to it, and let the man rest in peace. And you know, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. So because there's been so many different stories since he's died of who killed Tupac,
Yeah.
and who did it and who didn't do it. I don't even know what to believe anymore,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I even care anymore to believe to believe it. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, since we just talked about Tupac and everybody knows with Tupac's life, he had a little stigma on him by the general public that didn't understand him, that he was a danger to society because of what he was promoting in his music. So they thought. So let's go to our main topic, debuting the myth that black men are dangerous. Man, it's crazy where every time we turn on the news nowadays, it seems like our African American men are in some type of danger. It's getting to the point to where you can't go to the gas station by yourself without the police harassing you, or getting stopped by somebody because they don't think you belong in that neighborhood, or you meet a description, match a description of somebody, which the description can only be that the person is black, and just because you black, you match the description. So it's hilarious. It's sad to me that in 2023 we are still having to deal with that stigma or that myth that black men are dangerous. Yeah. And the question is it ever going to change?
It's a two-headed coin, honestly, because on one hand, we can say, well, police profiling is wrong. You shouldn't profile people based upon how they look. On the other hand, let's say you have a daughter and a young man comes into your house and does not look the part. Did you not just profile him? Did you not just make some educated guesses as to what he's about based upon how he looks? And more than likely, you are accurate. If he comes into your house not looking the part, if he comes into your house with his pants below his behind, if he comes into your house, slouching all down and talking to you crazy, have you not made some opinions about this young man? Now, people can say that either one of those are wrong. But here's the truth. All of us profile people sometimes. All of us. Me, y'all, everybody. We don't want to say that, but we do. There are situations where we don't feel safe based upon the environment that we're in, which is comprised of people who look and act a certain way. Now, is that wrong? It's debatable. The truth is, profiling is a part of police work. And oftentimes they are correct in their assumptions, no matter what color the person is, because certain looks yield a lot of time certain behavior, right? One of the reasons that white long T-shirt thing was a fad back in the early 2000s is because they were trying to blend in and all look the same to avoid being profiled. So a lot of those so-called people, gangbangers or what have you, would look a certain way trying to avoid being profiled. So they would all look the same to avoid being singled out. Well, the reality is, yeah, we do not want to be profiled as black men. We do not want to be viewed as violent, aggressive, this and the third. But yet and still, as a whole, all of us are not doing things that promote the opposite. Because sometimes, like we wonder why our young boys they're not always trying to be like daddy or trying to be like the doctor or the lawyer or the teacher. They're trying to be like what they see on television, but we think it's just because, well, why do you want to be violent? They're not trying to be violent. What it is they see sometimes in these hip-hop artists, they see what we say you have to pray about. Cars, money, houses, success. They have what you're saying you should pray for. So in their eyes, that's the route that they want to go to achieve what they want to get, right? Now we speak against that. We just push them into that. Now visually, these successful men look violent. They look aggressive. They look sometimes like criminals. But the reality is all of them are. Now some of them are, but all of them are not. We think sometimes that our young boys are trying to be violent or aggressive. No, they're trying to be successful. And that looks like the easier route to get to what they want. So now instead of trying to be the teacher, I want to be Jay-Z. I want to be Nas. I want to be Lil Yachty, right? I want to be Lil Wayne because they have what I want. And you're telling me to pray for it. They're sending a different message and they have it. You as my parent don't have that. You might be successful, but you don't have that. So our boys are trying to be not violent. They're just trying to have what they have, not realizing that, well, they don't always have what you think they have. Sometimes these cars are leased. Sometimes these houses are rented. Sometimes the company wants them to appear like they have what they don't. Because if you just got signed, you're not rich yet, but it looks like you are. So we have our young boys yielding to be that, and we said that's violent and aggressive, or even law enforcement says to look like that's a bad way to go. That they're criminals, they're violent, they're aggressive. But we're trying to be that. It's not all the time that we are trying to be aggressive or violent. We just look sometimes like what we aren't. Now, when you have individuals who actually are violent in society that happen to look that way also, now it becomes hard to tell them apart. Now, you the mic.
Yeah. In the neighborhood that I grew up in, you knew who was the dangerous individual. You knew Ray shot somebody. You knew Pookie was the stick-up kid. You knew which individual to stay away from. But never have I ever thought that all black men were dangerous. I never thought that all black men were violent. All black men, had the propensity to rob or steal or kill. There were some individuals that you knew that they fit the description. But what I think when we talk about debunking the myth that black men are dangerous, I think is a much bigger picture that have been drawn about black men in general that was not necessarily drawn by us as black men, but it's been portrayed out there in the world. And I think this started way before 2023, way before police profiling. This goes back into our history. If we could even think back of years ago when we watched the TV, what type of images, what type of pictures of Africa did we see? People seemed uncivilized, carrying around spears, chucking spears at each other, things of that nature. If we move up some years into slavery, like after slavery was abolished or whatever, they could no longer enslave us, so they had to figure out another way to get free labor out of us, and that was to incarcerate us, incarcerate black men. So they created all those Jim Crow laws that any little thing that you did will lead to your incarceration. And once you incarcerated, then they're able to get that free labor from you again. But in order to do that, they had to create those Jim Crow laws so that the black men or the black free slaves look dangerous. So we can have a reason to lock y'all up. So we can't use y'all for free labor no more. But now, I mean, in that way, That's slavery. But now if we paint the picture that you guys are dangerous, we can incarcerate you and still get free labor. So I think just throughout centuries, like a picture have been painted about black men that they're dangerous um, for a number of reasons. For a number of reasons, and I think due to our history, that picture has followed us to the point where it's also become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, if you told that you're dangerous for so long, if you told that you're angry for so long, if you told that you can't be trusted with women, with kids, with money or whatever, there's going to be some that's going to live out what they told that they are, and that's definitely true in our community. We have we have some dangerous guys. We have some guys that break the laws, but nowhere do I believe that's the majority of us. But I think media, slavery, television, all that stuff has done such a great job of painting a picture that black men are dangerous. That's our reputation around the world. So even if you have not come in contact with a black man in your life, I can guarantee you the the first thought is probably this black man is dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's bigger than what we've done in our neighborhoods. The black on black crime, none of that is right. Us killing each other, that stuff needs to stop. But rarely do you see uh, those guys going outside of the community in causing crimes in other white communities, Indian communities, Asian communities. But the news, the TV will take those crimes, put it on your TV so those communities can see us in that way, and of course they'll believe that those guys are dangerous. So it's just in my mind, it's just a real, there's a bigger power at hand that has created this myth that black men are dangerous, and we haven't helped it. We haven't helped this myth. We haven't tried to debunk. Some of us has tried to debunk it, but then there's a lot of us that's just living out exactly what they are saying that we are. I live in Philadelphia, and I don't even know what the murder rate is right now, but I know we're breaking records, and we've been breaking records all year. And that's young black kids killing each other.
Yeah.
Somebody
More about that narrative, man.
Yeah,
It's that whole narrative thing. Like from every conversation we've had today, it's a narrative. From the Carly to this to the Tupac, it's the narrative. It's the narrative that again, to your point, we have not done enough as a whole to break the narrative. And it's like we have unintentionally, I would say, embraced the narrative, because anytime you push a narrative or paint a narrative that something or someone has to be tamed, then they're deemed to be dangerous. Because you tame animals, wild animals, right? So we came over here to your point about slavery in their head having to be tamed, right? We took that narrative and started putting it on one another as time went on. When we got out of slavery, when we got even into Jim Crow, even to now, we have moments where the violence that was put on us, we now put it on each other, but the narrative is only about us. When black on black crime is no more a problem than white on white crime, because race on race is about, to your point, proximity, right? But they only keep these negative statistics on black people, which further perpetuates something that is not true. Like, AB, you are a black father, but America says you don't exist. Black fathers ain't raising their kids, according to America. Black fathers ain't in the home, according to America. But what they don't tell us, like, and I know that you know this, being a psychology person, but if you don't know the science behind the statistics, They say, black fathers aren't in the home, right? Which could be argued as violence. Because they say the absence of us creates violent children sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't tell us, okay, when they say fatherless children, do they really mean fathers are not taking care of the children? No. What they mean is black fathers who ain't married. That's what they mean. It's the marital status of the parents that determines in their head a fatherless child. So technically, you could be in the house with your child, unmarried. But in this chart, your child, son or daughter, is a fatherless child according to their chart. Because they're trying to push a narrative that is not true. Now, when you continue to push these narratives that aren't true, right? Black men and black women believe this. Well, 88% of black people marry what? Other black people.
Mm-hmm.
How was that being true? And if we're dating each other, we already think the worst about each other before we even come together based upon what? Not who you are, the narrative attached to you. So what does that do now? It makes black men and black women now what? Aggressive to one another. You can have black men and black women who really are not violent individuals, right? But they become violent with each other in terms of the argument, the debate, because, oh, AB, you ain't taking care of your son, or because you don't exist. Or you probably, dark women out, or James, you ain't no good because, the statistics are saying this about y'all.
Projection.
Narrative.
You get projected.
Come on, but there
You
you go.
project that narrative on each other.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that as intelligent as all of us are, we don't realize that they brought us here in chains, right? Somewhere along the line, we painted those chains gold and put them around our own neck. With mass incarceration, we fell into another set of chains that are called bars.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that that's out there, but half of us don't want to believe it's true. The other half use it as an excuse. Oh, the man did this. No, what did you do? What are you doing to make your own self viable in society? Are you taking off these narratives? Are you continuing to not be the man that you need to be? It's like we are afraid. We have a fear sometimes of stepping up and standing out and being, those of us who are Christian, the man that God needs us to be.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of good men who might not necessarily be godly men.
Yep.
And there are some men who have a relationship with God who don't want to stand out as a godly man because you feel like the narrative is that's not who they select. The narrative is they select the more aggressive individual or the one who looks more aggressive.
Yeah.
And they won't choose me.
Yeah, it's definitely a mentality now, or it's been a mentality for a long time that we need to break. We're carrying that mentality around about ourselves, that we have to be aggressive, we have to be violent, we have to be strong, we have to, we have to protect ourselves, and that comes across as danger. That's one of the things we always talk about. Even when we talk about our emotions, we always talk about how we know how to express anger. We don't know how to express any other emotions, but we know how to express that anger. That can come across as being dangerous. If everything that happens, we resort to violence or yelling or screaming or fighting or shooting. So so all those things, it pushes the narrative and it pushes the myth that we're dangerous, because we don't even take out the time to explore other parts of us. We just believe like this is who we are, who we're supposed to be, and it's sad because that's not even a story that we created by of ourselves. It really is a story that was created about us, and it was pushed so much, and that we started to live out these characters that was created.
And here's the thing, y'all. Because we started to live out these characters that they created for us, now they are creating these characters and putting them on national TV to more so enhance or more so make what they are saying even more true about us. That's how you see the Stevie J's on TV because of the simple fact of they're trying to keep that myth going across. You see the Peter Guns going through on TV because they are trying to keep that myth of the black man going across. Until we step up and take a stand and have conversations like this and show that, you know what, that isn't what we really are all about. We are still godly men. We are more than what these statistics are showing.
Right.
Then they're going to keep on showing what they want to show on TV because we're not being accountable and taking a stand for what's right.
Mm-hmm. And further perpetuating this inability to think critically, because to your point about the Stevie J's or the Peter Guns, you know, that kind of man is the one that is being the draw. Now we can sit here and say, no, it's not. Yes, it is, because if the narrative is good men are hard to find, then I would no longer judge men by their character. It's their currency that will draw me now. That is why you have some women who will settle for a man that can take care of them solely financially. But his character is horrible because you told yourself there are no men of substance. Because again, what you believe will become your reality. That's all that you will see now. Mm-hmm. That's all that you believe exists. Yeah. So when a good man comes across your radar, it doesn't even go off because you have become immune to it. And you're numb to it, rather. And you don't see it because you told yourself it doesn't exist. So you go for the one who might go upside your head because he got a piece of money, not realizing that most women that I know have one or two great guy friends that are single, that they always get the best advice from. And they tell that brother or those brothers that good men don't exist, but you're standing in front of one. Wow. So you really are blind.
Yeah. It's one of the most simplest interventions that we use in therapy. We do it with kids. Positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. The behavior that we want to see more of, we validate it, we reward it, we give it attention, and that behavior is going to increase. So it's exactly what you guys are saying. The behaviors that we see in these guys that we call dangerous or the bad guy or or the dangerous dude, when it comes to relationships, those behaviors are positive reinforced. Mm-hmm. Like that's why we see it more. Those are the people that they find attractive. Those are people that they gravitate to, and all of that attention, that gravitation towards it is just positive reinforcement. That's why you're gonna keep seeing more of it. In order to stop it, you're gonna have to give some negative reinforcement. You're gonna have to stop giving it attention, stop validating it, stop rewarding it, and then it's gonna die down. If you start rewarding the guys that you're referring to, Pastor Gregory, the guys that give a good advice, the guys that's respectful, the guys that listen, the guys that carry themselves with honor and integrity, you're going to start seeing more guys like that. Mm-hmm. This is a simple intervention we use with little kids. We reward the behaviors that we want, and we starve the behaviors that we don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely true, y'all. It's been another great episode tonight. And we're going to close it out with a little something like this. We're going to let the brothers give some closing thoughts, and then we'll come back here shortly.
All right. All right. Just I'll just close out by saying kind of similar to what I was just saying, really. Like if we want more positive brothers, first of all, we need to continue to have conversations like this. But it can't stay on the internet. We have to go out and reach other brothers. We have to reach young men. We have to be more of an example. Um, we are a very quiet minority that we don't really speak out as much as the negativity that we see. The negativity got a lot of help. They got social media. They got the regular media. They got word of mouth. Everybody is going to spread the word about the dangerous guy, the myth that we're talking about. So somehow we have to become more loud and spreading positivity. And that's the only way we're going to see some change. But we live in a world where all the negativity kind of sells. There's no there's no money in too much positive stuff. So it's a hill to climb up, but we can't give up, and we got to keep pushing, and we got to keep trying to reach other brothers as well.
I would just tell any black man that's watching, one of the things that we tell people is always be yourself. I don't tell people that because sometimes you have to be less of who you are to be all that God desires you to be. And my thing is, don't be afraid to answer the call that God has on your life. I'm not talking about ministry. I'm talking about the call to manhood. Even if you feel like you don't know truly what it means to be a man, don't be afraid to ask the question to someone that you hold in high regard. Because First Thessalonians 5 talks about avoiding the appearance of evil, and sometimes we allow ourselves to look like what we are not, or we sometimes behave in a manner that sends a condescending message that we're not trying to send, but it's all because we've picked up some bad habits that cause us to be viewed the wrong way. We have to stop being afraid to step outside the box, step outside of our circle, and to be an individual. Because sometimes to stand alone is the first step in you proving your manhood. It is not about having to uh, look a certain way because you can be just as much a man in a t-shirt as you can in a suit. So it's not about what you wear; it's about what you wear in terms of your character, your integrity. If you happen to have children, don't allow anything, anyone, any system to tell you that you cannot see your children. Don't fall into the conversation of I don't want to go the route of the courts. I don't want no. Take care of your children. The Bible says if man don't take care of his home, worse than an infidel. In regard to don't let this world tell you that being a gentleman is boring. No, being a gentleman is the right thing to do, and it will draw the right things to you. And I don't just mean in regard to a lady. I mean things, period. Because when you are a gentleman, when you know how to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, yes, sir, and no, sir, when you have good manners, manners make the man. My thing is be a man of integrity. I know the Bible says, who can find a virtuous woman, but the Bible also says, who can find a faithful man? That's Proverbs 20:6. Who can find a faithful man? Be faithful over the things that God has you to be over. Be faithful in your community. Be faithful in your job. Be faithful in your house. Be reliable. The most important thing a man can have is to be reliable. Be reliable. Be counted on and be accountable to your own life. And know this: God loves you, and I do too.
For me, in closing, the main thing that we got to remember as we're going through our life is to not be afraid to stand out. We are not called to be like the world. but we are called to be a light unto the world. So how are we going to be a light unto the world if the world is seeing more of them in us instead of more of God in us? So my encouragement to you on tonight is to be more like Christ. Stand out. Do not be afraid to let this world know who you are serving. Do not be afraid to let this world know that being a gentleman, as already been stated, is not boring. Let this world know that you're going to stand for something and you're not going to fall for anything. So we appreciate you all watching us tonight. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Tune in next week. We have the first merger episode with our brothers, Brother A.B. Bracewell and Pastor Gregory Devine, and two of the sisters of the Godly View. So we got that major episode coming on next week. And then after that, we're going to take a month off to relax and refocus and make sure that we bring y'all another powerful episode, another powerful season. So love y'all. Be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. See y'all next week. Peace.